Now it's recording. Thanks, Norma. Since Steve's new to us, I think maybe it'd be good to just go around and introduce ourselves and say where we're zooming in from as far as a locale, so you can see how widely dispersed this group is at times. Dale, you want to start? We can't hear you. You're on mute.
It helps if I turn the mic on.
Yeah.
I'm Dale Dorrell from Newton, Iowa. But I was a member at West Newton for many years.
Yeah. Norma?
Okay, Norma Gaston from West Newton meeting, and I'm here at Plowshares this morning.
And I'm Brent Bill, here at Plowshares. Chipper?
I'm Chip Pearson. I live in Indianapolis, a little bird called Mars Hill.
Megan?
I'm Megan Christopher. Is that me?
Yeah.
I'm Megan Christopher, and I'm from outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And right now I'm on vacation in California. And I joined this group in the pandemic, and I have never looked back.
Sue? Sue, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I just now unmuted. Sue Agan, and I'm from Plainfield, Indiana.
Dave?
Dave Mills from Stuart, Florida, originally from West Newton. Still am, I guess.
Loring?
I'm Loring Prosper, a longtime friend of West Newton, retired Unitarian Universalist minister, and I'll be in Woods Hole, Massachusetts the next 3 weeks with Beth, my wife who grew up in the West Newton meeting.
Jonathan?
I'm Jonathan Hubbard. I live in London, Kentucky, and I found the group online.
Steve, do you want to say anything else about yourself? Or?
Steve Winfield. I live in a town called Cheshire, Connecticut, just between New Haven and Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh, welcome. As far as announcements, we don't really have any today that I'm aware of other than yearly meetings coming, so please keep that in mind. Are there joys or concerns to share today? Lynn and Steve are traveling, so we might, they're in a strenuous trip down the Mississippi on a Viking cruise. So we can either hold them in our prayers or be jealous, one of the two. So they'll be gone the next 2 Sundays. And Sylvia and Dan are in Nova Scotia.
I just want to say that this is, when Dick was so sick this winter, I said to him many times at his bedtime, when the weather gets better, we're going to go to California. We're going to go to the Getty Center and we're going to walk down to the gardens and look at the view of LA, and we're going to forget this ever happened. And I think he has forgotten a lot of what happened in the hospital, and I'm very glad. I'm so happy to be here with him.
Yay. Well, Dorrell is going to be our worship leader this morning for the first half hour, and then at 10 o'clock we'll continue with more unprogrammed worship. But if you could put yourselves on mute, that would help any feedback, or and it might make Dale's message come through a little clearer.
Come away for a while. Come away, dear child of God, to be and be blessed. Come away for a while. Come away for a while. Come away for a while and pray. I realize that that's probably not being heard. I hope my voice is being heard, and I hope at least those words came through. I kind of built these thoughts today around a song, and had everything planned out. And I had an audio box that would feed into this program, and discovered yesterday it did not work.
Dale, it came through this morning just fine. It came through just
the guitar, or just my voice.
All of it.
Anyway, okay. Well, here's hoping. My topic today is on anxiety. So here we are. I went to my very common place yesterday, or early this morning, not quite sunrise, but shortly after sunrise, to spend a little time in meditation and to try to drop my anxiety level down just a little bit, which I often do. And I find it to be a way of calming myself in the midst of a lot of turmoil. The Gospel of Matthew, Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount talks about, therefore do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? The Gentiles seek these things, and God knows that you need them. But seek first the realm of God and righteousness, and these things will be yours as well. Therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Let the day's own trouble be sufficient for the day. Do not be anxious. Wow. I have a little trouble with that one, and have most of my life. I think anxiety builds nature and personality, and it's not if it's not personal issues of finance and health. It's world wars going on all around the world, and famine, and just a whole bunch of turmoil that I see and hear and read about from day to day. And I have found that one of the ways in which I deal with that is to try to spend as much time in some kind of meditation. And sometimes that takes the form of just sitting and playing guitar and singing songs. Many of you, this is Father's Day. Many of you knew my dad, who was a man of faith, and a man who lived out his faith. But somehow, toward the end of his life, he was having some mini strokes and various other things, and he became convinced somewhere, and some of you, I think, caught some of this.
I don't think so.
He became convinced somewhere that he hadn't done enough yet. And that somehow or another, if he didn't get some other things done and get some things said and all before he died, it was going to be, well, it was going to be too bad. And I tried to reason with him, to talk to him about that anxiety, but it persisted. And I think it was part of some mini strokes and things that he was having at the time. But I knew my dad as a man, and my parents, both of them. Dad would have been 100 years old last week. But I knew them as people who lived their faith, and hope that I can be as faithful in that as they were. But my topic today really did form around anxiety, and a sense that we today, I think there have been anxious times throughout the generations, but it feels a lot to me like we're being sold a kind of fear. You got to fear this. You got to fear everything, and we're being sold a kind of fear. And I find myself resisting it, but also getting sucked into it, and feeling like, it takes deliberation to kind of stop and take time and meditate and try to find that balance in life. Not to be ignorant of things that are going on, but also to find that balance. I was looking at the topic of fear. I looked back a couple of things that and actually this was kind of formed around a song I wrote about 8 years ago, after I'd taken a kind of some workshops, some evening classes or whatever with the American Friends Service Committee on immigration. Anyway, the two scriptures that make up the chorus of the song, one of them is, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Now, for many years in my early life and my boarding school experience, that fear of God was really meant to put the fear of hell in us. That if you step off the line, if you get out of place, you've stepped onto the slippery slope, and the bottom of that pit was the flaming fires of hell. So don't ask questions. So Jonathan, thank you very much for your message because I am a doubter, and that's part of my faith. But this sense of what I see and what I hear as I look deeper into that is the sense of awe of God, and the need for that. When I look out at nature, and when I look at the positive things that people often do, and the ways in which people step out, I think to myself, it is that awe of God, is that sense that God is in my life, like my parents, the primary, that sense of focus in my life. So that sense of the awe of God, and the gospel of love was often preached, but what came out was kind of a gospel of fear. And the need, the other passage of scripture which kind of provides a balance, but I look at that scripture, or those scriptures, because it's throughout the Proverbs and the Psalms, at that fear of the Lord as being more a sense of awe, a sense of the wonder of God and of creation, of human beings. But the other one was perfect love casts out fear. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. And that is a message. When I'm focused on love, I respond with love rather than fear. Perfect love casts out fear. I feel like I easily get sucked into a kind of anxiety. Taking the messages around me, that sense of fear, the need to take time and look at that. I'm going to try. I'm going to try to sing this song. If the song itself doesn't come through, if the music doesn't come through, at least maybe you can hear the words. A little bit of country sound to it, I think. I could see it in the way he walked as he shouldered through the cafe door, scanned the room and spied the stool at the counter next to me. While I not remind myself to the next hour of listening to his complaints, his fears, his story. I was fine with that until the preacher on the TV o'er my shoulder caught his eye, his ear, and shifted his refrain. Oh, well, the words he heard as prophecy were nothing but a gospel of fear from a charlatan, spreading poison across the land, selling bowls of anxious pottage, my heritage for his own gain. Well, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom and truth, and Jesus' proof God is compassion. And in that love it's clear that perfect love casts out fear. Then my friend began to echo the words that he was hearing, how our nation is a victim, and he a victim too. Trade wars, loose borders, terrorists, those foreigners, and all those liberals destroying our country. Well, it never crossed his mind that I might not agree. and yet I held my tongue, not wishing to offend. Knowing my own privilege, my comforts, my illusions of control, but wondering if my silence was selling out my soul. Not fear, but love is with us, marking the pathway clear. There's a perfect love that's for us, and that perfect love shatters fear. Now there are other stories, as I recall, other words of ancient prophecy. Righteousness and justice are a nation's call for the people, the sojourner, the refugee. There's a woman great with child knocking at my inn. God's own son secured in Egypt's foreign land. Man seeking asylum, though of a different skin. Well, he's my brother, my savior. Should I not let him in? There are children fleeing violence, knocking at my door. There's a man who sits beside me, bound in chains of fear. There's a soul that rests within me in full humanity, all seeking the same thing. Belonging, hope, security. Well, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom and truth. Jesus proof God is compassion. And in that love it's clear. There's a perfect love. There's a perfect love. There's a perfect love that casts out fear. When I find myself um, getting sucked into the anxieties of that which is around me, to try to take some time away, to try to take some time to just bathe in nature and to take some time alone, but also to remember. Um, I was thinking I might sing another one of Carrie Newcomer's songs, actually, but um, I'm not gonna try that with the situation that was there. You can hear her at yearly meeting. Um, in which I heard an owl call last night, homeless and confused, and I stood naked and bewildered at the evil people do. And up upon the hill there is a terrible sign of the story of what darkness waits if we leave the light behind. So don't tell me hate is ever right or God's will. These are the wheels we put in motion ourselves. And the whole world weeps and is weeping still. Though shaken, I still believe the best of what we all can be. And the only peace this world will know can only come from love. I actually asked her a week or so ago. This is Carrie Newcomer. I asked her a week or so ago in an online chat kind of thing about the origins of that particular song. And she said it actually was written on 9/11, on a day that not only were we dealing with the awfulness of that, well, just the awfulness of that day, but her neighbor had decided on that same day to clear the forest next to her and stripped it out. So the birds had no place to go.
Well, thank you, Dale and Norma, for your offerings for this first part of worship. We'll now continue with additional unprogrammed worship for those who can stay. We know some have to leave, like Norma, who has to do music at another friends meeting in a little while. So, Godspeed to those who must leave, and let's continue in worship.
Thank you, and what a joy it was to learn of a couple more of Norma's many talents that I didn't even know she had.
Thank you, Dale.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
I have a reflection of today's meeting or today's talk. I don't know if it's a message. You'll have to tell me if it is. I've met that perfect love. Only for a moment, but God, it's still with me. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. Anxiety came with that. I found myself, I walk my dog every morning at a local park. I found myself looking at the trees, these beautiful trees being choked off by grapevines and bittersweet and multifloral roses. And I reflected to myself that I've met all these great nurses and doctors who are trying to save my life. And in my heart, I looked at those trees and decided to start pulling these vines down. Now I can only do it in the winter because of ticks and poison ivy. So I was out there maybe 3 hours a day, cutting these vines that are, some are maybe 6 inches in diameters, with this frustration, pulling them down out of these huge maple oak trees as best I could, knowing that I'm only going to save them for maybe 20 years. But I reflected on that too, is that's probably what the doctors are doing for me in my age. But in that frustration, I looked down and picked up a grapevine and I bent it into a circle. And then I started making a wreath. And I just stopped and I said, my God, joy is present. So I've made many wreaths out of these grapevines and tied them into the trees for people to walk by and to reflect on what this all means to them. I've never felt such a more beautiful love than that transition that I made from frustration to love.
If all hearts are clear, we'll close meeting for worship for this week.
Thank you for sharing about the trees.
Yes.
They are so happy. It's unbelievable. It's not seeing the vines is just gave them breath, it seemed. And the birds, nature is such a soothing, calming place to be.
Yes, it is.
Well, it's good to see everyone, and
Thank you, Bill.
see you all next week if way opens. And I don't know who the worship leader is next week.
I am.
No. Okay, brace yourselves. No.
Please thank Norma for that lovely, lovely, amazing grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a dry eye in the house.
No. She is a
I was
gifted
lucky to find
musician.
this. Thank you guys so much.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, take care, friends, and we hope to see you next week. Have a good week. Godspeed.
Peace.
Yeah. Good to see everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.